So welcome to part 1 of Troubleshooting Bhakti, or Troubleshooting on the Path of Devotion, based on the book Madhurya-kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. So dear devotees, I know we all have a lot of questions. We get overwhelmed with questions. So we humbly request that you please keep your questions brief so that we can accommodate as many devotees as possible. Also try and keep your questions related to the topic at hand so that the discussion can flow in one direction. So to those devotees who are viewing our online broadcast, you can WhatsApp your questions to +27 71 243 6985. Please state your name as well as the place that you are viewing from. That number again to WhatsApp your questions, +27 71 243 6985. His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj Ki.
Hare Krishna. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. So Hare Krishna, welcome to everyone. For the next 2 mornings we'll be discussing a very, very beautiful book, a very, very important book, and a book which can give us incredible insight on our journey as we try to perfect our lives. And that beautiful book is known as Madhurya-kadambini. Madhurya means very, very sweet, and Kadambini means a cloud bank. So when there is one cloud, it's a cloud, but then when there are many and they are raining, then it's called a cloud bank, a Kadambini. So there are clouds which are raining the sweetness of mercy. So we'll be exploring why is this the title of the book and what does it actually teach us in our journey. But before we get into the more spiritual aspects, I'll start on a light note. I'll show you a video, and I want you to tell me whether you learn any spiritual lessons from it. Ready? I know you wanted to all watch rugby, so I gave you opportunity. No one can tell you you're in Maya. Any lessons that you learned from that for your spiritual journey? Yes. You don't celebrate too early. Yes. Don't become complacent. Yes. Stay focused on the goal. Yes. Don't turn your back on the goal. Yes. Pride comes before a fall.
First guy fell down, but he decided, the bike is not doing it. He just kept running. So if you fall down, find another way, just get it done.
Okay, so if you fall down, just find another way and get it done. You should be a commentator. One more? Yeah, okay. Yes? Wait for the task to be completed before you celebrate. Yes, see? So, this is how you can watch sports and become Krishna conscious. Thomas Edison once said, many of life's failures are people who didn't realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Believe it or not, dear devotees, we are like each one of those individuals in the sense that we're actually very, very close to success. The scriptures explain, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. It's explained that for thousands and perhaps millions of lifetimes we have been wandering within the material world. According to Shastra, Padma Purana explains that actually to come to the human form of life, for most people it means they've gone through every other single species. We've been everywhere. We've been in the waters, we've been in the trees, we've been in the deserts, we've been in the air, we've been on the land, we've been in another human body. We've been everywhere in all species of life, and finally we've come to this point of the human form of life. But then Krishna says, even when you come to the human form of life, Manushya Nam Sahasreshu Kashkit Yatati Siddhaye. Out of many, many thousands who come to the human form, maybe one may endeavor for perfection. And out of those, thousands of those who are endeavoring, maybe one may make it. So actually we're incredibly close to success on our spiritual journey. In the proverbial journey, we are kind of on the final lap. But the most agonizing thing would be, just like in this video, if on the final lap we messed it up. That pride, that complacency, that blindness of turning your back on the goal, if that would kick in, that would be the most agonizing thing. Srila Prabhupada in his teachings explains, if one comes to Krishna consciousness, they're very fortunate. If one doesn't come to Krishna consciousness, they're unfortunate. But if one comes to Krishna consciousness and then doesn't take full advantage and get the mature fruit of that process, we can say they're the most unfortunate. Because so close, yet so far. So what happens to most people on the spiritual journey is one of two things, and sometimes we oscillate between these two things. On the spiritual journey, some people lose hope. They're actually right there, right close at the gates of eternity, but they lose hope because they think it's too far, I won't be able to do it. It's too hard, it's too high, it's too much. And some people just lose their focus because they think, I'm here, it's happening, it's going to happen, and I'm in the process, so all is good, and I don't need to be too conscientious about it. Everything will appear by the grace of God. Lose the focus. So it's interesting that these two, although they seem to be opposite, they oscillate within our consciousness, even sometimes without us even knowing. Sometimes we just kind of in ourselves defeat ourselves, or in ourselves we just lose interest. We just go through all these emotions, and basically we get lost on a journey when actually we're very, very close to the finishing line. So it's very agonizing if someone is on this journey and they get lost. Therefore, what the acharyas have done is to help us understand what that journey looks like. What the acharyas do is they say, this is where you came from. They say, this is where you are right now, and if you keep walking the path, this is what will happen and this is where you will go. And therefore what they do is they map the whole journey of spiritual life. Because when you have a map, when you know what's behind you, where you are and what's in front of you, then it's much more easier to keep yourself enthused and on the journey. And that map that we've been given on the journey of bhakti is known as the Madhurya-kadambini. What Krishna does, and by different mechanisms, is he basically gives us insights into what we're actually in this world looking for. So the first thing Krishna does is he comes to the world and he presents the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. And what does Krishna say? You know, yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata. Krishna explains in the Gita that the ultimate thing we're all looking for is yoga, or connection with God. And of all types of yoga, bhakti is the highest. So what does Krishna do in the Gita? He establishes devotion, he establishes love as the highest aspiration, in very, very clear philosophical terms. But then, what Krishna does is he appears again, as a book. Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarva Shrai Prati Shloke Prati Akshare Nana Artha Kai. So Krishna comes again as Bhagavatam. And in that Bhagavatam, he goes further, because the Bhagavad Gita tells us devotion is your goal. But then what we hear about in the Bhagavatam is all the devotees who embody devotion. You see, someone can tell you something theoretically, but when you see it in a person, then it becomes so much more real. And therefore, the Bhagavata is basically narrations of all of those great personalities who have great love for Krishna. But then Krishna goes further, because what he wants to do is he wants to teach the world not just what devotion is and how devotion looks, but Krishna also wants to teach us how to awaken our own devotion. And therefore, Krishna, through as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, empowers Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami is known as the Rasa Acharya. Rasa means taste. Everyone is looking for ras, or taste. And the real taste is bhakti ras. So then, Rupa Goswami is known as the Rasacharya, because what Krishna does, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is he empowers Rupa Goswami to teach the world the science of how they can awaken their own devotion. And therefore, he writes the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. You see, Mahaprabhu's love was like a waterfall. Have you ever tried to take shower in a waterfall? Good luck. You don't take shower in a waterfall. It's too intense. It's too powerful. So what the Goswamis did is they took the waterfall of Mahaprabhu's love and they made it into an ocean. Now, can you bathe in an ocean? That you can do. Durban Ocean. Very warm, isn't it? Cape Town is cold. Durban is warm. So you can bathe in the ocean. So what Rupa Goswami did is he took the waterfall love of Mahaprabhu, which was so amazing, but wasn't accessible for everyone. And what he did is he made it into an ocean. And that ocean anyone can bathe in and understand and experience that love as well. So he educated us in how to actually develop that devotion. But then, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur did is he took 2 verses from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and he made a whole nother book. And in that other book, he explains how to practically enter into devotion, and he explains the step-by-step journey that one will go through on the way to actually developing pure love for Krishna. So can you see? Krishna is not just random. He's providing us with everything we require to develop love. In one book, he establishes devotion, then he exemplifies it, then he educates us in it, and then he gives us the step-by-step journey of how we can enter into it. And therefore, if one is wise, one will read all of these books. Because this is it. This is the chance. After many, many lifetimes, we've come here. And we've got this opportunity. Why would we not read the books which actually help us to get there? And so, this is Madhurya-kadambini, a very, very beautiful book. So, we are going to be discussing this Madhurya-kadambini. And at the beginning of any book, there is always a Mangalacharan. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, Say Mangalacharana hoy, Trividha prakar, Vastu nirdesha ashirvata, hoya namaskar. He says every book that you read has a Mangalacharan. It always has a prayer at the beginning. Trividha prakar, and this prayer establishes 3 things. Vastu nirdesh, what is the objective of this book? Why are we even reading this book? Number 1. Number 2, namaskar. The Mangalacharan always offers respect to the teachers who have empowered us with the knowledge to write that book. And the Mangalacharan third thing, Ashirvad. It explains to you what will be the benedictions that you will receive if you actually read and grasp and understand this book. So every Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. So every book has a Mangalacharan, and every time we do a spiritual discourse, we have a Mangalacharan. For example, before a Bhagavatam class, what do? We sing Jaya Radha Madhav. What is that? Vastu Nirdesh. That's our objective. Why did Prabhupada tell us to sing Radha Madhav before we begin a spiritual discourse? Because we have to close our eyes and remember, that's where I'm trying to go. That's my cherished aspiration. That is the Vastu Nirdesh. That is my objective. Then what do we do before a Bhagavatam class? Namaskar. We offer prayers to all the teachers who have taught us. And Ashirvat. We ask, please give us your blessings so that we can speak. So in the same way, every book has a verse written like this. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes this beautiful verse, which is the Mangalacharan to the Madhurya-kadambini. Ridva prena vabhakti shashya vitate sanjivani svagama rambhe kamata partudha damani vishwapagolasini duran me marusakhinopi sarasi bhavaya bhuyat prabhu Shri Chaitanya Kripa Nirankushamaha Madhurya-kadambini. Very beautiful. So this is the translation. The mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an uncontrollable cloud bank of exquisitely sweet nectar, whose sudden appearance fully rejuvenates the grains of ninefold bhakti in the field of the heart, extinguishes the burning summer heat of lust, and bestows rapture to the universal river of living beings. From far off, may those clouds of the Lord's mercy give satisfaction and pleasure even to this worthless soul, a dried up tree in the desert. Such a kavi, such a poet. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, poetry should be like an archer's arrow. It should penetrate the heart and it should cause the mind to spin. So if you can spend days and days just talking about this one verse, is so deep. There are so many things that are being said here. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur begins by explaining that Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful. Mahavadanyaya. Why is Mahaprabhu merciful? If you want to sum it up, this is the reason Mahaprabhu is Mahavadanyaya. He gives the highest thing to the lowest people in the easiest way. If you find someone in your life who gives you the highest thing, despite the fact that you have no qualification, and they give you that thing in the easiest way with you having to make minimal effort, then you can understand this person is extremely magnanimous. What we instead do is we give a tiny bit. Isn't like in Gujarati they say kanjus. Isn't it? We're so miserly. We give little bit to someone who deserves so much. And in order to give them that little bit, they have to work, They have to really earn it. Otherwise, I will not give. Because we are so miserly, so kanjus. Mahaprabhu is very kind. Namo Mahavadanyaya, just giving. So he gives the highest thing to the lowest people in the easiest way. This is love. So Mahaprabhu, he is like an ocean of mercy. And why is he an ocean of mercy? Because Srimati Radharani's love is like an ocean. And what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying is that Mahaprabhu is like a cloud. And what that cloud has done is it has absorbed all the water from the ocean of love that is Srimati Radharani's heart. So that cloud, although it looks like a cloud, the cloud of Krishna or the cloud of Mahaprabhu, what's actually inside it? The love of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Krishna Nomi Swarupam. Mahaprabhu is Bahir Krishna. Outside is Krishna, but inside he's actually Srimati Radharani, and Srimati Radharani is very kind. So, Mahaprabhu is like a cloud, and he's a cloud which is filled with the love, the sweetness, the kindness of Srimati Radharani. And that cloud, what does it eventually do? A cloud at some point, when it becomes overloaded with rain, with water, it must rain. It must rain. Therefore, when a cloud becomes filled, then it must rain. And therefore, Mahaprabhu is that cloud. And when Mahaprabhu is raining, then that signifies mercy. The mercy is coming down. And the word given here is Nirankusha, is uncontrollable mercy. When Mahaprabhu rains, is uncontrollable mercy. Number one, because when clouds appear and they rain, you can't control it. It just happens. Second thing is when Mahaprabhu's mercy rains, it just rains in such an intensity that nobody can fathom. And the third reason why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it's Nirankusha, uncontrollable, is even when Mahaprabhu's left, that rain continues to flow. And where is that rain of Mahaprabhu's mercy landing? In our heart. And our heart is like a desert. It's very, very dry, because the scorching sun of lust has been beating down on our heart for lifetimes, and basically is dried up everything. And therefore nothing is growing, because our heart has become like a desert, very, very dry and very, very hard. Do we sometimes feel my heart is so hard? Don't we wish we could become soft and fertile, that land? So, how does the heart become soft and fertile? The rain of Mahaprabhu's mercy descends uncontrollably, and then what it does is it rejuvenates the heart. And what it does is it makes the heart fertile again. And then what grows in the heart? The grains of ninefold bhakti. When the mercy of Mahaprabhu comes, the heart becomes fertile, then the ninefold grains of bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, all these practices, they begin to arise within the heart. And like this, those souls who are dried up, who are useless, who don't know why it is that they're so miserable. Most people are miserable, they have no idea, why am I so miserable? Therefore, when the heart again becomes nourished by this mercy. So this is very, very beautiful. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur basically explaining that Mahaprabhu is the cloud, the rain is the mercy. The rain is raining on our heart, which is like a desert. And when that mercy comes down, then that desert becomes fertile again, and then the grains of ninefold bhakti and the creeper of devotion grows, and then eventually it grows to such a degree that it reaches high into the sky, the lotus feet of Krishna. That's basically what's going on here. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses this metaphor of rain. And what he does in the Madhurya-kadambini is he divides every chapter, and he calls every chapter a shower. Because when a shower comes down, it's another installment of mercy. You see, because when we live in an urban culture, we don't appreciate rain. When you're living in London, it's like, oh God, it's raining today. Oh man, it's like it's raining. We don't like rain in urban culture. But in natural culture, rain is the most auspicious thing. Because when it rains, it means everything will be rejuvenated. It means there will be abundance of nourishment and fruits and vegetables and vegetation. So, people can't appreciate rain nowadays. It's true. So, these are the two verses that Rupa Goswami wrote in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And you know, like, devotees are so deep that they can take one or two verses and they can just speak about it and speak about it and speak about it. Because it's always ever expanding. Prati shloke, prati akshare, nana artha kai. Kaviraj Goswami says in every verse, in every syllables, nana artha kai, there are so many meanings. So this is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he takes these two verses and he writes a whole nother book. So you can repeat after me. Ado Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangotha Bhajana Kriya Tato Nartha Nivriti Shyat Tato Nishtha Ruchis Tatha Atha Shaktis Tato Bhavas Tatha Prema Bhyudanchati Sadhakanamayam Premna Pradurbhave Bhavet Kramaha. So here, Rupa Goswami is explaining the 9 stages that one goes through until finally reaching pure love for Krishna. So what he says is, Ado Shraddha. In the beginning there must be faith. Without faith you can't begin any journey. And then he says, once you have faith, then the next thing that happens is association. You begin to associate with the devotees of Krishna. So we all received some faith in some way, and because of that faith, now we come to the temple. Now we come to the Sangha of Vaishnavas. Now we join an online Sangha or something. You begin to associate with devotees. And then after associating with devotees, you can't be around devotees for too long before they tell you to start doing something. So soon they engage you in bhajan. Bhajan means a regulated practice by which you begin to try to individually develop your relationship with Krishna. Now he walks around with a bead bag. It's like that's when the warning signs come on for some of your family members. You you go to the temple, that's okay. If you go to the temple on a weekday, why do you go to the temple on a weekday? Temple means Sunday. Weekday? Warning signs are there. And then, if you bring a bead bag home, it's getting serious. Call the deprogrammers. And then as you start, then it does get serious. Because as you begin to get interested in Krishna, then Krishna begins to get interested in you. Because what does Krishna do? Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Ridyantasto Hiya Bhadrani Vidunoti Surat. Krishna begins cleaning up your heart. And when he begins cleaning, it's a very shocking process because you begin to see things in your heart that you never knew were there. One person came to me once, he said, I need to stop chanting. I said, why? He said, I'm becoming a worse person. I said, what do you mean? He said, like all this lust, anger, it's all coming out when I chant. I never had this before. I said, you had it, but you didn't know it was there. Like when you clean a room, isn't it? Then it looks clean. Of course, it is clean, this one. But many rooms, and then when you begin cleaning, then the dust comes out to the front. So anartha nivritti means we're cleaning the heart. And then when sufficiently clarified, cleansed, nishta. Nishta means convinced, fixed. If you look at all of the English words which begin with ST, isn't it? Stop, stand, stay, stagnant, station. They all have a sense of being in one place. So sta means when you can stay in one place. So then at nishta, one is unmovable. They cannot go anywhere else. You can't leave. Because now you've connected with Krishna in a very deep way. And then attraction comes, connection comes, emotion comes, and finally intoxication. So this is a very easy way to remember the progress of devotional service. This is how it all happens. And these are the steps that we will go through. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is clarifying many things. He says that these steps are not separate from each other, but rather they are built upon each other. So it's not that, oh yeah, now I'm in Bhajana Kriya, forget the Sadhu Sangha now, I don't need those guys anymore. No. Each stage is based upon the next stage. And as you begin going up, each stage below is developed even more. So when you're in Bhajana Kriya, although you're no longer at the stage of Shraddha, still your faith is developing. But it means now the main thing in your life is focusing on that practice. And when you're at one stage, it doesn't mean that you can't have glimpses of the stage before as well. Just like even before the sun rises, you begin to already see the rays, isn't it? So it doesn't mean the sun has arisen, but even before the sun rises, you already begin to see light. So that means even if you're at anartha nivritti, it doesn't mean you don't have any ruchi. You have some ruchi, of course, but it's not significant, it's not prominent, it's not substantial enough to say that you are at the stage of ruchi. But when it becomes prominent and substantial, then that becomes your stage. So what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur does in the Madhurya-kadambini is in each stage, he outlines each of these things in detail so you can understand which stage am I in, and in my stage, what are the kind of things that will happen, the obstacles, the opportunities that will occur. Isn't this amazing? It's like you read this book, I guarantee you, and you will look at your life and you'll be like, this is like the story of my life. You'll actually be able to see yourself in this. So it's very, very powerful knowledge that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives. And before Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur begins to explain this journey, the first question he asks is, how does bhakti begin? What is it? How is it that bhakti begins? I'll just tell you a story of this person here. Once we were on Sankirtan, we were traveling around the UK in a Sankirtan van distributing books. So one morning we decided to go to one town. So what happened is all of us fell asleep. Luckily the driver didn't. The driver was the only one awake, so we all fell asleep in the van. Finally, the van stopped. Somehow we're, like babies, as soon as the engine stops, they immediately have a sixth sense, so they wake up. So the engine stopped, so we all woke up. He said, okay, we're in the spot. Everyone, out of the van. Time to give out the mercy. That's the hardest part of the day, coming out of the van. After meet all these people, all these miserable faces. I don't know if I'm more miserable than them. Sometimes we feel. So we went out into the town. So we went out into this town and we said, where have you brought us? There's no one here. Some of us were happy that there was no one there, you know, like, what to do? We wanted to distribute, but there's no one here. What to do? So we were like, where did you bring us? He said, I brought you to Torquay. I said, are you sure? Finally, we met one person on the street, you know, in this ghost town. It was like a ghost town. We said, where are we? He said, you're in Paynton. I said, Paynton? I thought we were in Torquay. He goes, no, that's 10 miles down the road. We all looked at the driver. He said, you spaced out guy, you know, you came to the wrong place. He says, okay, let's get back in the van. So we started walking to the van, and you know how devotees are in every situation, they all get all philosophical, you know. So he said, no, it's Krishna is in control. There must be a reason that we came here today. Krishna, you guys you have faith. He said, really? Okay. So he said, look, we do one thing. He's gone to get the car. We're going to stop one person. I said, first see if you can find one person here, Baba. There's no one in this town. He said, we're going to stop one person. Let's see what happens. So finally we were waiting, and then in the distance we saw one person coming. So he goes, this is the one. Can you imagine? 6 of us jumped on him, you know. That was like, he got the full mercy, you know. We're like, hey, how you doing? He's like, I never had 6 strangers so happy to see me, you know. So then we surrounded him, you know, like like the chakra vyuha, you know, in the. So we're all smiling at him. So he's standing there, you know, and then one devotee pulls out a chant and be happy. He says, we're here to help you. We're your friends. You look at us, we're so happy. And this book's for you. Chant and be happy. So we gave him the book. And he looked at us. He said, I already got it. And he said, what's more, I was just at the beach reading it. I was like, okay. So I said, where did you get it from? He said, I got this 3 weeks ago from my friend in Ireland, and I just started reading it. It's changed my life. I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, and now I chant every day. I said, what do you mean you chant every day? Have you ever met any Hare Krishnas? He goes, I don't know who you guys are, I don't know what you guys do. Clearly I can see you surround people in towns and corner them. But otherwise, I never met you guys before. I don't know. You have temples? I've never been to a temple. But in the book, it said that you have to chant, and it said you need to make beads. So I made my own beads, and I just chant. So this is him. The blue Krishna bead. That's a good one. Srila Prabhupada ki. Amazing. So the devotee said, driver, told you so. It's amazing. We just bumped into him, random person. He had made his own beads just by reading the book. You have to understand, Srila Prabhupada's books are powerful. We have no idea what's happening when they're going out there. You see, here, this is proof. It's happening. It's not just like a PR line. It really happens. So now the question comes, how does bhakti begin? This is a very, very interesting question that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses right at the beginning of Madhurya-kadambini. he says, how do you even begin this process? Ado Shraddha. Okay, I understand in the beginning you need faith, but where do you get that faith from? Why is it that some people have faith and some people don't have faith? Why is it that all of us ended up here, but another, 5 billion or 6 billion people out there didn't? So how does bhakti begin? Why do you think this is an important question to answer? Is it an important question? Why is it an important question to answer? Why are we even discussing this? We're here. Let's just get on with it. Why does Vishwanath Chakravarti first say you must understand this clearly? How bhakti begins. Why is it important to understand? Anyone? Yes?
So we know when we go out there how to start another journey for someone else.
Okay, so if you know this, then you know how to help other people start their journey. Very good. Yes? Then you have gratitude. If you know what was the mechanism and what were the arrangements which caused you to be here, then it may help you to value your position more. Very good. Yeah, these are the points. And also, it also helps us to understand, if we know how bhakti began, then it also has important information in terms of how we can further develop our bhakti. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he's going into a dialogue with himself in the Madhurya-kadambini, and he makes the point that you're here practicing is simple. You're here practicing bhakti yoga because you did it in a previous life. Krishna already explained that in the Gita. Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Bijayate. If you take up the practice, but then later on you desist, then what will happen is in your next life you'll take birth in a favorable family where you'll again be in a situation where you can continue that journey. So it's simple. Why are you here practicing bhakti? Because you did it in a previous life. Simple. Oh, happy? He says, no. But then how did I begin in that life? Well, simple. Because you did it before that. Okay, got it. But what about that life? No, I want to know, where did it begin? So then, he says it's simple. The Bhagavatam explains how bhakti began. Yadrichaya matkatado jatra shraddhastu yapuman na nirvino nati shakto bhakti yogasya siddhadha. How did bhakti begin? Simple. Yadrichaya. Good fortune. You were fortunate. If somehow or other, by good fortune, one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glories, such a person, being neither very disgusted nor very much attached to material life, should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotion to me. Uddhava Gita, Bhagavatam. Happy now? Simple. You began bhakti because of good fortune. Okay, now get on with it. No, I'm not happy still. But where does that good fortune come from? If you tell me the cause of bhakti is good fortune, I agree, but still I want to know, where did that good fortune come from? So then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, maybe the cause of your good fortune was that you did many pious activities. You did some dan, you did some yajna, you did some tapasya, you did some good activities to help other people, and therefore, because you did some piety, therefore, yes, now you have good fortune. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur presents that, and then he says, no, cannot be piety. Piety cannot be the reason that you begun your bhakti, because piety is still material. And something material cannot generate something spiritual. So he says, no, the cause of bhakti cannot be pious activities. He says, okay, maybe the cause of bhakti is the Lord's mercy. Yes, you started bhakti because you got Krishna's mercy, right? That's spiritual. But he says, no, there's a problem. Because Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyo stina priyaha. Krishna says, I'm equal to everyone. I don't envy anyone. I'm not against anyone. I am equal to everyone. So if the cause of bhakti is Krishna's mercy and Krishna is equal to everyone, then why didn't everyone get bhakti? It's a problem. So he says, yes, it can't be. It's not even Krishna. It's not Krishna. So then who is it? He says, I know. It's the devotee. The devotee gives the mercy. Because Krishna delegates the power to transmit bhakti to the devotee. And the devotee can decide where to go, and they can then help someone to begin their journey. That makes sense. But isn't a devotee equal to everyone? Yes, a devotee is equal to everyone, but still a madhyamadikari, although equal to everyone on the ultimate spiritual platform, still makes distinction and therefore goes out into the world and finds people who are receptive. And therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the cause of bhakti is not pious activity, it's not the Lord's mercy, it's the devotee. Agreed? Yes, no, don't know. Yes, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says there's one more important detail. Because what is impelling a devotee to give bhakti to others? What is it that a devotee has that impels them to give bhakti to someone else? What is it that they have? Purity, compassion, appreciation, purity. You've said all the good things except what I want to hear. To please the Lord, humility, conviction, the desire, devotees carrying bhakti. Because a devotee has bhakti in their heart, which manifests in compassion, kindness, humility, purity. The bhakti within the heart causes a devotee to then go out and give bhakti to others. So what is the cause of bhakti? Bhakti. Finished. Nothing in this world can create bhakti except bhakti, because bhakti is, I'll just show you this. Because bhakti is self-manifesting. So therefore the devotee, because they are the carrier of bhakti, therefore they become powerful to give bhakti to others. Therefore it's mentioned, Krishna bhakti janma mula hoya sadhu sang. Krishna prema janma teho punamokhya ang. The root cause of the awakening of pure love for Krishna is the association of someone who has bhakti. Prabhupada had so much bhakti in his heart. Therefore he was impelled even despite all problems, to come and give it to others. Because when you have it, you can't stop yourself from giving it to others. You must give it. Like we see devotees like His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, they are just addicted to giving the mercy to others. It doesn't matter how many problems, how many difficulties, they just continue to give because the bhakti is so great that they can't stop giving to others. They must give more and more. So, this is very, very beautiful. So how does bhakti begin? We are practicing bhakti because we have an attraction, and that attraction causes us to execute bhakti, and when we execute bhakti we get more attraction, and that causes us to execute more. But how did it all begin? That initial attraction was given by a devotee, and because that initial attraction was given, we executed it, according to Guru and Shastra, and we got more faith and knowledge as the process went on, and now it's spiraling. Now this may seem highly philosophical, but actually it's very simple. If all of us trace back to how we began Krishna consciousness, you can trace it back to a devotee. There's no other way. It's only a devotee. And that's such a powerful point, because it means every single one of us in this room, we, by Krishna's mercy, are the only hope for the world. Devotees are the only hope for the world, because only if someone gets an association of a devotee can they begin. And therefore the devotees have to make themselves available. The devotees have to give their association as much as possible, because you may think, I'm very small, I'm very insignificant, but you have bhakti in your heart. And if someone comes in contact with you, it's going to be dangerous for their material life, because you're going to do something to them in a very beautiful way. So this is very, very nice. This is why the devotees are constantly going out and sharing bhakti with others. So before Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes and explains the journey of bhakti and how we go through every single stage, he first begins by making this point of how we begin bhakti. Okay, let me just stop here. Does anyone have any questions on this, or clarifications, or things you may not understand or that you want to know more about? If you just wait for the mic.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. They say from the stages of Shraddha to Prema, only in the sixth stage, Ruchi, one can be left alone. I was just hoping you could comment on it, because spiritual life is dangerous if you're left alone prior to that. Only in the Ruchi stage, one can be left alone.
So Prabhu is asking, he says that he's heard that at the Ruchi stage you can be, only then are you safe to go into solitude, into Nirjan Bhajan, because there you have taste, and therefore before that, when you're by yourself, you might just end up watching the football or something. So it's not a good idea. Some element of solitude is required at all stages of spiritual life. Even when you're a sadhaka, some moments in the day you just need to disconnect from everyone, and you need to be just with yourself. You can journal, you can reflect. Nowadays people don't spend any time alone. Isn't it? Have you heard of the theory of boredom? 50 years ago, people used to get bored. And when they got bored, there was nothing to do. And when there was nothing to do and nobody around, you know what they started to do? They started actually thinking. So boredom was very good, because it was only in those times that they were left with themselves to actually think about things, and sometimes they came up with good thoughts. But nowadays people don't get bored, because as soon as they get bored, you know what they do, right? Pick up a phone and start swiping. And therefore nobody has any time to sit with their own thoughts now. So one important thing is every devotee should spend some time in some solitude to reflect. Otherwise, our spiritual life becomes very, very mechanical and very, very external. Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, a devotee should be as thoughtful as a non-devotee is speculative. But how you will become thoughtful if you're constantly surrounded by others? So therefore, some time alone is good. However, we don't go into nirjan bhajan, which means, lock ourselves off. If you go to Vrindavan, then there's Bhugarbha Goswami. Bhu means the earth, and Garbha means a cave. So what did he do when he wanted to chant? He went underground into a cave and he chanted there. Jiva Goswami went in a crocodile hole. If you go to Radhasham Sundar temple, then you can ask them, they'll take you to the Bhajan Kutir of Rasikananda. You have to walk down. So they used to go into seclusion. But we don't do that, because Dustamana, Tumi Kisher Vaishnav, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, you fool, you think you'll go into seclusion with your crazy mind? You'll be. So at what stage does one become qualified for Nirjan Bhajan? Actually, as explained, Bharat Maharaj was at the stage of Bhav. And then what did he do? He went to a forest and he got attached to a deer. And what's explained by the commentators is that the problem he had is that he had no devotees around him to correct him, to help him. And therefore he fell down. So it seems that even in the stage of Bhav, to go into Nirjan Bhajan is difficult. So I've never heard that it's been defined that at this stage you can go into solitude. Basically, solitude is there for every devotee, but the degree of solitude and the degree of privacy that you create in your life has to be measured very, very carefully, because too little and you'll become just external and mechanical. And too much and your mind will finish you off. Therefore, it has to be very controlled. The relationship with the mind, there must be always be control. Like say for example, put your hand up here if you've ever seen a lion. Okay, keep your hands up, keep your hands up. Now, put your hand down if that lion was in a zoo. Okay, keep your hand up still. Now, put your hand down if that lion was in a safari park where you were in a car. Okay, I'm glad. There's still a hand up. Really? Mataji, how did you survive? That's what I want to know. Okay, no problem. You can tell us the secret later. Do a seminar. Generally, if you meet a lion, either the lion has to be in a cage or you have to be in some controlled environment. If you are open and the lion is open, so therefore the mind is like that. There needs to be some control around how you engage with it. And too much is very dangerous. So this is how I would respond to that. Do you want to respond to that? Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Which 8 symptoms of bhav you mean? Okay. The 8 symptoms of bhava given by Rupa Goswami. Kshantiravyathakalatvam viraktir manashunyata ashabandha samutkantha namagane sadaruchi. Like this, he gives 8 symptoms of bhav. But again, these 8 symptoms of bhav is not that you are at a Shakti and then you like, now I'm at bhav and the 8 symptoms come about. They're already coming about. Like say for example, avyartha kalatvam. One of the symptoms of bhav is that you don't want to waste any time. So even once you see like devotees, they may not be at ruchi or a shakti, but they don't want to waste any time. Right, isn't it? They always go around, they have a headphone or some lecture on or something. It's sometimes a bit annoying as well. Like, can you just take your headphones off and speak to me? But it's nice, they want to constantly be engaged. So you see, like devotees don't want to waste any time, like they hardly sleep. Devotees are the only people I've seen who can sleep anywhere. They can sleep standing up. I've seen devotees sleep standing up. Once I was in japa time, and it was so funny. I should have been chanting attentively, but what to do? So it was really funny. This one devotee was on the side, and he was sleeping, like he was out. It was like the Zeds were coming out, like he was finished. So then there was this other devotee who was walking around and, like he was almost like, semi-consciousness, it's like, Anyway, then he came close to this person who was sleeping, and then finally somehow this person who was standing up, he just fell asleep, and he literally fell asleep, and he fell on this other person who was sleeping. So they're both like these two, like boom! They're both sleeping. And then it was so funny because they both woke up and they go, Prabhu, what are you doing? We're sleeping, So, it was so funny. I mean, for sure it woke me up, I was like fully energized after seeing that, I was like, God, only in the Hare Krishna temple, it's like these things don't happen. It's amazing. So already avyartha kalatvam, you see, they're very sincere, they just don't hardly sleep. They say devotees get 6 hours of sleep. 5 hours at night when they push themselves, and 1 extra hour in the Bhagavatam class. Because they didn't get enough at night. So the symptoms of bhava are already manifesting. So solitude is definitely there, but generally in our tradition, in our line of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, Nirjan, Bhajan, really, Babaji, Vaish, they did not actually encourage this so much. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had some Babaji disciples, I think 4 he gave to, but generally he was not encouraging. And generally he was encouraging everyone till the end, just like Srila Prabhupada showed the example himself till the end. He never cut himself off, he was always with the devotees, to give that example. So Prabhupada generally, we don't so much encourage at any stage to go into complete nirjan, bhajan, but rather, see, this verse is very nice. Krishna bhakti janma mula hoya sadhu sang. The root cause of devotion is sadhu sang. But then the next line, what does it say? Krishna prema janma teho puna mukhya ang. But even when love for Krishna arises, association of devotees is still the mukhya ang, the primary. Because in the spiritual world, you're with the devotees. It's not like, everyone's in the spiritual world in their bhajan kutir. No. Everyone's together. Because satam prasangan mamavirya samvido bhavanti ridkarna rasayana katha. It's very beautiful. It's more rasa when there's more devotees. It's nice, like Raghunath Prabhu's dancing in the kirtan. Very rasa. Very nice. Is that okay? Anyone else? Any questions on anything we've talked about here? Anything online? No. No, not online. Oh wow, that was a very respectful way of doing it. If it was me, I would have just boom.
Hare Krishna. Marj, I'm thinking the point that bhakti comes from bhakti, and when does it, how does it begin? But I was also considering, like, when does it begin? At what point can we say this is the beginning of bhakti? The first time I meet a devotee, the first time I hear the mantra, is all of these connection points? Because I was thinking personally, or is it the first time you think like, yes, I want to do this, and you move to something?
So what is the actual point where you began? What day did you actually join? And these are all points of highly heated Vaishnav debate. It seems as though Srila Prabhupada, if you look in the Madhya Leela, chapters 19 to 25 are very powerful because Mahaprabhu is instructing Rupa and Sanatan. And he's explaining the science. Actually, everything he read about in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the root of it is found in those chapters of the CC. So we have this verse. Brahmande Brahmite kona bhagyavan jeev Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. If you're incredibly fortunate, then you get the seed of devotion. Now this is a very puzzling verse in one sense, because what does it mean to get the seed of devotion? Because another verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kapunoi Shravanadi Sudachite Karaye Yudoi. Love for Krishna is eternally established within the heart. So that means love for Krishna is already within you. So then what does it mean that the spiritual master gives you the seed of bhakti? What does that mean? What is that starting point? So unfortunately I don't have my phone with me now, but in one purport Prabhupada writes that when you are given the association of a devotee by which you get the practices, the processes of devotional service, the education of how to do it, and the enthusiasm, inspiration and encouragement to do it, then that complete package is the seed of devotional service. So it's not just that if someone gets a book, but if they get a book and simultaneously they get the enthusiasm, the faith, the inspiration to actually read it and do something with it, we can say the seed has been completely implanted. So when that complete package is there, then we can say, yes, Ado Shraddha, now they have begun their journey. Because they've been given that seed, and what does that seed mean? The practices, the processes, the education, the inspiration, the faith, the encouragement, all of those things to actually begin this process. Therefore, what we're trying to do is always give people these things, like we distribute thousands of books. But then what we also try to do, we need to have other programs where we give people faith, encouragement, inspiration. And when that all of those things align, then it sparks the journey, and then the rest is history. Does that make sense? Yeah, is it? Yeah. So That's what it means, that you actually get it and you do something with it because you've been given all those elements like that. Okay? All right. I think, shall we? I don't have a clock here. I think it's time to end, right? We'll end here. I wanted to go further, but we have tomorrow, so we'll go a little further. So in essence, today we talked about the super excellence of bhakti. Bhakti is self-manifesting, independent, and super excellent. This is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. And tomorrow we'll begin to explain all of these different stages. I don't know how much we'll be able to do. We'll do something. Just to give you a taste of what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about. So thank you very much for being here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So Maharaj will be doing a program at New Jagannath Puri Temple at 11 a.m. It's a youth program, so the young leaders of our society can join them for that. Dear devotees, you are welcome to join us for breakfast prasadam will be served in our prasadam maki. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we welcome you all here and we're very happy to see you all here today as we resume with the second part of our weekend seminar based on Madhurya-kadambini. Sorry for that. So yes, we just invite our online audience as well. We welcome them and we also invite them to submit questions on the WhatsApp number, which is +27 71243 6985, and please include your name and your place of residence so that we can introduce you when we offer your question as well. Thank you very much.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Di Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Janitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for coming this morning. Already broke one computer today. That was me. Got to be careful here. Thank you. That's fine. So Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you so much for coming this morning. So we're continuing speaking about Madhurya-kadambini. And it's really, really valuable for us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Siddhanta boliye chite nakara alash Iha hoite Krishna lage sudrida manash. He says when it comes to speaking about Siddhanta or philosophy or the science of Krishna consciousness, nakara alash, don't be lazy. Give your time, give your energy. Sometimes it's not so easy to hear philosophy. One time I was giving class and at the end of the class someone said, that was wonderful class. I said, what did you like? He said, you ended on time. So it's not so easy to just sit down and listen because the mind is very inattentive and flickering. But Kaviraj Goswami says, Nakara alash, don't be lazy, try. Because if you do, iha hoite, by doing this, Krishna lage, fixing your mind in the science of Krishna, sudrida manash. Drida means fixed, determination. So sudrida, you become extremely, your mind becomes very, very strong. Otherwise, in life, there are so many things. We're on the journey of Krishna consciousness and then various things happen. Life quakes. Different bombs are thrown in our life from different places. It becomes very difficult to carry on. So yesterday we were talking that we are on this path and we may not always appreciate, but we're very, very close. Now we should not be lose hope, lose focus. We must continue, and therefore, what the acharyas do is they give us the roadmap, isn't it? Like when you have children in a car, then whenever you're driving, they're like, "Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. How long? How long to go?" So it's interesting and it's important for us to understand what is the journey looking like. Where am I? Where am I going? What will happen? Because this helps us to continue on. Otherwise, if we don't know, where the end of the tunnel is, then it's sometimes difficult. So, therefore this Madhurya-kadambini is given. Every single scripture does different things, and therefore the Shastra is so complete that it equips us in all aspects of awakening bhakti. And Madhurya-kadambini is very, very special because it talks step by step of the journey of how one is walking towards prema bhakti, and in every stage what will happen. So as you know, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur takes the 2 verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and then he expounds on these 9 stages. Ado Shraddha, we begin with faith, Tatha Sadhu Sango, then we associate Bhajana Kriya, we practice regulation of devotional service, we gradually become purified, and then we're established in Nishtha. So the way Acharyas explained this is like going up a mountain. So these 5 stages are like going uphill. So if sometimes you feel tired, if sometimes you feel like you want to give up, if sometimes you feel like, why did I even come to Table Mountain? Isn't it? We're in Cape Town, Table Mountain. Why did I even try? I should have took the cable car. Then that's okay, because they explain it's an uphill. But then once you go to Nishtha, see, when you go to the top, then you begin to see, oh wow, there's an amazing view. And then you can come down. And then that becomes very, very effortless. Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava and Prema. So it's all moving like this. Very, very scientific. How do you know you're at each stage? There are very clear signs. Sometimes you may be in japa time and one day we don't fall asleep and we think, yes, Nishtha. Must be there. I knew it would happen one day. So what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is, if you think you're at Nishtha, maybe not. Here are 5 signs, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, and if there are a complete absence of these 5 things, then you can understand you're in Nishtha. So then after we read that, we think, okay, better go back to japa time tomorrow, try again. But it's all hopeful because it tells us it's possible. And what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur begins by doing is he tells us the very important information of how we got here in the first place. And he says you're practicing devotional service because you have an attraction. And when you practice, you get more attraction. And then he raises the question, where did that initial attraction come from? Causeless mercy. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang. Somewhere along the line, a saintly person must have come into your life. Some way or another, they entered into your life, and by their association, the bhakti in their heart impelled them to give bhakti to you, and by their kind endeavors, the bhakti has now been awakened, or that process of awakening bhakti has begun. And as we execute, our faith and knowledge increases. So this is how devotional life is going on. And therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, before even talking about the journey of bhakti, he establishes the super excellence of bhakti. That nothing can manifest it. Bhakti is completely independent, and the effect and the experience of bhakti is super excellent. It will surpass anything else. Therefore, moksha lakuta krit, everything else becomes small in the once bhakti has awakened, everything else is insignificant. Okay, so this is where we were yesterday. So now let us begin. We only have today and tomorrow, so we'll just see how far we can go. So, Ado Shraddha. In the beginning there must be faith. Without faith you can't begin any journey. Faith is natural, faith is rational, and faith is beautiful. The first thing we have to understand is in the world today, people look down on faith. They think faith, I don't have faith, I'm a scientist. But even scientists have faith. But they don't call it faith. They say, we believe in axiomatic truth. Understand? So they say, when they're doing a scientific experiment, they say, there's certain things, we haven't proved it yet, but we're just assuming that it's true so that we can continue in the experiment, and then later on we will prove it's true. Therefore, we don't have faith, but there are certain axiomatic truths. See? 12th canto of Bhagavatam says, in Kali Yuga, everyone will be known as learned if they can juggle words very nicely. So no, it's the same thing, faith. So yes, they have faith, we have faith, and everyone has faith. So faith is natural. Without faith, you can't do anything in life. But faith can also be rational. There can be certain philosophy, logic, argument around one's faith. That means it's not just some blind, sentimental thing. But no, this makes sense. And faith is beautiful because faith allows us to explore what is beyond our current experience. So Shraddha is absolutely essential. However, anyone who begins this journey, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, has a different quality of faith. Everyone in this room has faith, otherwise you would not be here today. But what is the quality of that faith? That is different. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the first type of faith is known as Lokika Shraddha. Lokika Shraddha means popular faith or cultural faith or worldly faith. One begins the spiritual journey because somehow or other they were born in a situation where culturally and traditionally they were introduced to this. My mum done it and her mum done it and we've been doing it for generations and therefore I also do it. In other words, it's a type of faith which is built not through one's own intelligence but through one's environment around them. So many people come to the temple, many people come to Krishna consciousness just because they were exposed to that somehow or other by friends, family, by culture, by tradition, but they haven't really made a conscious choice to do it. So you will find many, perhaps most people are of this type of faith. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, there's another type of faith which is known as Parimarthika Shraddha. He also calls it Svabhaviki Shraddha and is also called Shastriya Shraddha. And this is the type of faith that one has because they've studied Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and because now they've understood what this journey is and why it's so beautiful and where it's ultimately leading to, which is that I can achieve pure love for Krishna, pure devotional service. So this is a much deeper, a much more powerful type of faith. Now people who have both of these faiths, they can both progress on the journey, and they do. But the amount that they will be able to experience will be significantly different. Because according to how much faith, remember, Shraddha means to put your heart into something. So if you only have Lokika Shraddha, then how much of your heart can you put into something? And if you don't put your heart into it, how much will you be able to progress and experience? But if you have Paramarthika Shraddha, if you have Shastriya Shraddha, then you can give more of your heart and then you can experience more. Now this faith has been analyzed even more by other teachers. For example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also talks about faith. And in the Sandarbhas are very powerful literatures. They're written by Jiva Goswami. So Sandarbha means weaving, isn't it? Gujarati we say sand, isn't it? Like to knit something together. So Sandarbha means weaving. And what Jiva Goswami does in this Sat Sandarbha is he takes all the different insights of the Bhagavatam and different scriptures and he weaves it together and he creates the whole theology of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And so in one of the Sandarbhas is known as Bhakti Sandarbha, and in that book he explains the journey of spiritual life like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and there he also speaks about faith. So sometimes another type of faith is given which is known as Baladut Padita Shraddha. This is kind of like in between, we can say, Lokika and Paramarthika. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur just talks about Lokika and Paramarthika, but we can also say there is this one also, Baladut Padita, he also talks about. And this is the type of faith that's created from forceful preaching. So like say for example, someone is going some like difficulty in their life and then they come to the Hare Krishna temple and then someone gives them a heavy class, heavy dose. Yes, dukkha laya mashashvatam. The material world is miserable, it's no place for a gentleman. The material world is like a toilet, you do your business and you get out, and all strong statements. And then just by hearing that forceful, charismatic preacher, then they think, yes, this is what I should do. And then they take up the practice. But they haven't actually deeply internalized it or studied the scripture themselves. And therefore this is called sometimes forced faith. So can you see? On the top is what we call popular or cultural faith. And then there is a type of faith which is a forced faith. It's someone else's faith which they've almost impressed upon you, but it's not your own faith. And then there is spiritual faith, Shastriya faith, scriptural faith. This is because you've actually understood what you're doing here. So this is very, very important. Because according to the quality of your faith, how much you'll be able to experience is determined. The whole purpose of having a temple is to help people increase the quality of their faith. Now the amazing thing about this, Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. The amazing thing about this is this can change. So someone can come out of cultural faith and then they decide at one point that they want to actually understand, and then they can develop Paramarthika Shraddha. So you can change your faith, you can upgrade your faith, but the interesting thing is you can also downgrade your faith. Someone can begin in Krishna consciousness, understanding the philosophy and really coming on this path very sincerely, and then over some time they can become mechanical, they can become ritualistic, and they can become more of a cultural member of the Krishna consciousness movement than an active participant. And therefore this faith is also dynamic. Therefore we're constantly trying to upgrade the quality of our faith. So ultimately this faith is dependent on you. Nobody can force anything. Like whenever we go to someone's homes, the parents always say, can you make the children Krishna conscious? Make the children. They think the danda is like a magic wand. They said, Swamiji, touch him with the danda. I can. It's good to get hit by a danda. Once I was in Mumbai Rath Yatra, Lokanath Maharaj was there. So I saw Lokanath Maharaj, he always carries his danda everywhere. So I don't know, I had this thought. I wonder what it would be like to get hit by Maharaj's danda. So I just had this thought. And then we were in Mumbai Rath Yatra, it was sweltering, it was so hot. And then anyway, Maharaj, the, the kirtan took off and then everyone was jumping and then bang! Something hit me, you know. I fainted, the whole world was like spinning, and then I saw this danda in front of me. I actually got hit by Lokanath Maharaj's danda. He's the real thing, you know, like hard bamboo, you know. It was. So sometimes people think by some magical we can change. We can't. Everyone has to make the decision. Your kids grew up in Krishna consciousness, so then naturally they have Shraddha because of culture and tradition. But at some point they have to make the decision. Nobody can make it for them. They have to make the decision that yes, this makes sense. I want to practice this. They have to connect with the words of Shastra. Similarly, one can come to this Krishna consciousness movement somewhat because of the charisma of others. They heard an amazing preacher, or they experienced something amazing in an event. That's very nice. That inspires us. But then eventually that's not enough. You have to take that inspiration, that almost impressed faith from someone else, and then you have to own it. So basically what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is that everyone must come to the point of developing this kind of faith. And that's why we have to study scripture. Jiva Goswami says real faith means faith in what? Faith in what? Is real faith faith in devotees? Is real faith faith in Krishna? He actually says faith means faith in Shastra. Because if you have faith in Shastra, then you'll be able to have high quality faith in Krishna and high quality faith in Vaishnavas. But if you don't have high quality faith in Shastra, you may have some faith in Krishna, you may have some faith in the devotees, but if something comes along in your life, then you can also develop a lot of doubts as well. Therefore, everyone must study Shastra. Now you may say, I'm not a scholar. I can't read all these books. How will I develop Shastriya Shraddha? I struggle to even memorize a shloka. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to memorize lots of shlokas. Shastra, in its essence, is actually very simple. Like one time, devotees wanted to take Srila Prabhupada to Amsterdam to go on Top of the Pops. It's like a music show. So finally they arranged, and then last minute they said to Prabhupada, no Prabhupada, you should not come to Amsterdam. They will only give you 1 minute to speak. Prabhupada said, 1 minute? I can tell the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness in 1 minute. You are a soul, Krishna is God, bhakti is the process, and if you do it with attention, then you awaken pure love for Krishna. So the truth of Shastra is very simple. That one must grasp though, very deeply. So don't worry, you don't have to become a scholar. But what you can do is constantly try to bathe your consciousness in the words of the scripture. Because that's very, very powerful. Hear about Krishna. If you find philosophy difficult, then at least hear about Krishna. Hear about the beautiful pastimes of the devotees in the Bhagavatam. Just keep hearing. And what will happen is your faith will develop much deeper. Okay, so this is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur begins, by saying we must understand what is the quality of our faith. And so what we're trying to do here at the temple is anyone who walks through these doors and comes here, they have faith, but what we need to try to do is take them from Lokika Shraddha to Shastriya Shraddha. We need to take them on this journey. Therefore tonight we're having the launch of School of Bhakti and different initiatives like this. Because then people can come here and learn scripture, learn Siddhanta, learn Tattva. Because iha hoite Krishna lage sudrida manas, then their mind will become much more fixed. Okay? Just before I carry on, does anyone have any question on this? Is this clear, what I'm saying here? Would you like any clarification? Anyone? Okay. Okay, yes, at the back. Just at the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the detailed explanation. Faith. We learn also that devotees are characterized according to the faith. Like somebody's faith is like Kanishta, Madhyam, or Uttama. Can you touch on that?
Yes. So then also is explained that there is Kanista, Madhyam and Uttam. So like this in Shastra, you'll find various categorizations of devotees based on different factors. So Kanista, Madhyam and Uttam is also defined according to faith and knowledge. Kanista means someone whose faith is very weak and who practically has little knowledge of Shastra. Therefore they can be easily convinced by the arguments of someone else. They may come very sentimentally, but they can also leave very sentimentally as well. A Madhyam is one who has stronger faith and who is able to actually grasp Shastra to some extent. By the association of devotees, they have studied. And one who is a Uttam doesn't just have faith and knowledge, but their knowledge is so deep that they can also convince others. And their faith is so deep that even if there are challenges, even if there are very, very acute situations, their bhakti does not waver. So Kanista, Madhyam and Uttam is characterized in different ways. Sometimes Kanista, Madhyam and Uttam is also characterized by how they interact in the devotional setting. So for example, a Kanista is defined Archaya me vaharaye pujam ya shadaye hate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakrita smrita. Kanista is said to be someone who worships the deity, who sees Krishna in the deity, but doesn't know how to relate to other devotees, doesn't value other devotees, and is very much simply absorbed in them and Krishna. This is known as Kanista. But Madhyam is described Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Ya Karoti Samadhyama. A Madhyam knows how to relate. They have love for Krishna, they have friendship with the devotees, they help the innocent, they ignore the envious. In other words, they have more sensitivity to their surroundings. And an Uttam Sa Bhagavato Tama is explained Sarva Bhuteshu Ya Pasyed. Sarva Bhuteshu, in all living entities, they simply see Krishna. Therefore an Uttam makes no distinction. Their sensitivity is so high that in everyone, even inimical people, they only see Krishna in the heart. So Madhyam, Kanista, Madhyam, Uttam is a very complex delineation that in different shastras is categorized in different ways. But yes, one of the main qualities which differentiates them is their faith and their knowledge. And therefore Srila Prabhupada said, everyone in our movement, we must at least come to the stage of Madhyam. Otherwise it will be difficult to advance. If we simply remain with weak faith and patchy knowledge, then it will be very difficult to apply oneself with determination and with quality. Yeah. Is that okay? Yes. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. So which one comes first? Faith, experience, conviction?
Thank you. Okay, so then let's just go to this. It's explained that the whole process of Krishna consciousness is meant to feed your faith and starve your doubts. So which one comes first, you're asking? Faith, experience, or conviction? So generally, ado shraddha. We're generally getting our initial faith by causeless mercy from a person. That's how the beginning, the janma mula, is the association. So the first thing that is generally feeding our faith is people. That's generally, for most people, the first way in which we begin our devotional life. Because bhakti is in the heart of a devotee, therefore that's the only thing which can trigger the journey for you. Because bhakti is created by bhakti. But then what happens is we try to deepen our faith through philosophy. And when we deepen our faith, we encourage people to develop shastriya shraddha, then that feeds your faith further. Therefore, when someone comes to the temple through association, the very next thing we try to do is connect them with philosophy. And then when we teach them philosophy, we don't simply remain on an intellectual platform. We tell them also engage. Now do something. Hridayananda Maharaj, he studied at Harvard University. He was doing a PhD. And he said, what I liked most when I came to the Hare Krishna temple was that I sat in a class. And in the class, the speaker said, Jivara Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, you're Krishna's eternal servant. And at the end of the class, he came up to me, he gave me a mop, and he said, clean the floor. Hridayananda Maharaj was studying philosophy at Harvard University. He said, all my life I studied philosophy, but it never amounted to anything. It was just gymnastics in the mind. And I was so happy to finally come to a philosophy where you actually practice it, you live it, you apply it. Therefore, the very next thing we do when we teach people philosophy is we tell them, do something, practice. So this is how you feed your faith. Constantly surround yourself with powerful people, engage deeply with the philosophy, and then practice. And when you do these three things, then you get an experience. Ya yatha mam prapadyante tamstateva bhajami aham. As you surrender, I reward you accordingly. So then Krishna appears in our life. And then as Krishna appears in our life, then we're feeding our faith. And when our faith comes to a certain point of maturation, then that faith becomes conviction. So therefore, nishta is conviction. So what comes first? A person. Then what happens? Philosophy. Then what happens? We practice. Then what happens? We get an experience. And then what happens? After sufficient experience, conviction. So that's the general trajectory on which someone's spiritual life goes. Is that okay? But remember, these are not like, remember, never look at this as like level 1, level 2, level 3. They're happening together. So from day one, you're having an experience. Right? From day one, you have some knowledge, but it's deepening. And as it deepens, then your journey goes on like that. Is that okay? Okay, so this is the process of Krishna consciousness. We're trying to feed our faith, and the other thing is we're trying to starve our doubts. So maybe you have doubts. So then we tell people, discuss your doubts. We should always create forums where people can open their heart and discuss their doubts, because doubts are like weeds. And if we don't help people to remove those doubts, then what happens is they become more and more deep-rooted. And as they become more and more deep-rooted, they become more and more difficult to remove. And therefore, if anyone has any doubt, talk about it. Yes, let's talk, no problem. Let's have a debate. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada would even debate with his disciples. he would say, okay, now you be the atheist and defeat me. And then Prabhupada would defeat, and there would not be. And the Prabhupada said, okay, now I'll be the atheist, you defeat me. So we should, because unless we discuss, those doubts are not removed. And then certain doubts, they may not be able to be removed in discussion, because certain doubts can only be removed with the advancement of consciousness. Therefore, there are certain doubts which you can't just remove by having a conversation with someone. Some doubts just need to be removed in the course of time when a deeper realization descends within the heart. And therefore, what we tell people is that some doubts, you don't have to ignore them, but you can delay them. Just say, yes, I have a doubt. It's there. I haven't resolved it, but leave it there. And let's just practice Krishna consciousness, and over time, those doubts actually disappear in the course of time. And certain doubts, we tell people downplay them. There are doubts, but they're not so important that they need to stop your journey. Sometimes we make small doubts bigger than they need to be, and those doubts we use as a roadblock in our journey. So you can use all of this for yourself and also for others when you are teaching them the practice of Krishna consciousness. If people start with a very high quality of faith, then they can make amazing progress on the journey. But if you're wondering why sometimes people come to the temple for decades, and they, by their own admission, say that I don't feel like I've advanced very much. The reason is because Ado Shraddha, the foundation of faith, was not strong. So the whole Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of creating faith, because your faith defines the quality. Okay? Anyone else? Any questions? Happy so far? Okay? All right. So this is faith. So a sadhu comes into our life. The other thing a sadhu does is they don't only give you faith, but they also create doubt. The sadhus, what they're meant to do is not just create faith, but also create doubt in material life. And when these two things are together, then also you can advance more in devotional service. Once we were distributing books in London, so we went to a place called Sloane Square. It's where all the embassies are, all the diplomats, very high grade area. So we were distributing books there on the street. So one very smart gentleman, he walked past. I was with one other brahmachari. So this brahmachari stopped him. So he said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" So the brahmachari said, "I'm a monk. I graduated from university. I had a job in the corporate world, but I gave it all up. And now I live as a monk. We sleep on the floor. We wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. We have cold showers." I had to add that detail in. And, it's very impressive. And we go out all day and we tell people about God. So this person was like, wow. He was like amazed. Very you could see he was a very eminent person. So he said, I'm fascinated by you. He said, can we go to a coffee shop? I would I'll buy you a coffee. No caffeine. He said, okay, no problem. I get you a herbal tea, whatever you want. Let's speak. I want to know, why did you turn away from everything? I've spent my whole life making money, all of these things, and you walked away from it all. Why? Why would you walk away from it all? Let's go and talk. So the brahmachari, Sankirtan devotee, no, I cannot go to the coffee shop. I have to distribute books. That's what I do. I have to distribute these books. So He goes, well, all these books. He goes, how long is it going to take you to distribute all these books? He said, usually 4 or 5 hours. She said, I don't have 4 or 5. I want to speak to you. So this person, he looked at it, he said, how many books are there? So the devotee said, there's about 100 books there. She said, how much do they cost? At this point, the brahmachari, if he was switched on, he could have really nailed it at this point. But yeah, because, he wasn't switched on enough, He goes, they're £5. So he just pulled out his checkbook and he said, £500, boom. There you go. I bought all your books. You don't have anything more to sell. Take a day off. Come to the coffee shop with me. Let's have a chat. I'm intrigued. So this was like in the first half an hour of the day. So he walks by me with this person. He goes, I'll see you later. I'm done for the day. You're done for the day. So this is how people, it creates a doubt in them, isn't it? Why would you give it up? Isn't it even that person who wanted the touchstone from Sanatan Goswami? Isn't he came? So, I heard you have a touchstone. Yeah, you can take it. It's on the garbage pile up there. On the garbage pile? All right. Why would you put it on the garbage pile? That means you have something better. What do you have? So this is what the sadhus do. Simply by being in their presence, you begin to doubt material life. And they give you faith in spiritual life. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness. So then, Ado Shraddha, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, see, it's very, very scientific. At every stage it will teach you how to tweak your spiritual life. Then the next thing that he says you do is you associate with the saintly people. Sadhu Sangha has 2 definitions. Sadhu can mean associating with a perfect person. Isn't it? A sadhu is someone who is very established. Remember, a sadhu is not just someone in saffron or someone who's a renunciate. Krishna says, Sadhu reva samantavya samyag vyavasito hisaha. Anyone who's determinedly engaged in devotional service is considered a sadhu. And therefore, to associate with a sadhu means to associate with a very serious devotee. But sadhu sangha also means when 2 devotees who may be imperfect associate perfectly together. And therefore, sadhu sangha doesn't just mean to associate with a senior, but it also means to associate with peers within a community. Both aspects are very, very important. Some people have a lot of good general association, but then they don't have someone guiding them. And sometimes people say, no, I don't. I only look for the real serious people and I just spend time with them. I don't come to these general programs. No, that's also not good. We need the association, the support of everyone. Even if someone, in your estimation, is not a senior devotee, if you associate with them perfectly, you can also inspire each other in a very, very beautiful and profound way. So sadhu sangha means both of these things. And when you associate with saintly people or you perfectly associate with each other, then what happens is we become instilled with the aspiration of where we should be and the inspiration that we can actually get there. If you lack aspiration and if you lack inspiration, there's no progression in the spiritual journey. Both things have to be there. And so this is sadhu sangha. What it does is it takes your faith and then it begins using that faith to drive you forward in your journey. And which devotees should you look to associate with? Sajatiya, Snigdha, Mahatara, Sadhu Sangha. If you can find devotees who are Sajatiya, like-minded, devotees who are Snigdha, affectionate, they have good feelings towards you, and ashraya, devotees who are sincere and somewhat advanced. This is the kind of association we should look for. So this is Rupa Goswami explaining in the 64 items of devotional service. How many devotees are there in our life who fulfill these criteria? If you fill your life with sadhu sangha, then your life will be amazing. Yesterday I was in Phoenix. I was telling the devotees that when I first met Shivaram Swami, I was very young. So the devotees told me, you have to ask him a question. So I didn't have any questions. So the devotee said, ask him for an instruction. Anyway, so he gave me an instruction. And then that stuck in my mind. So every time I met a sadhu, I always asked them for an instruction. Whenever you meet the Swami, ask an instruction. That was a dangerous thing to say yesterday because about 60 people asked me for an instruction. I was like, oh no, why did I say that? I didn't know what to say to them. So when I met Bhakti Charan Maharaj for the first time, His Holiness Bhakti Charan Maharaj also asked for an instruction. And I was also quite young. And the instruction that he gave me is, he said, when you're in Krishna consciousness, make as many friends as you can. I know, it didn't seem to me at that time to be such a deep instruction. I was waiting for some deep, esoteric, instruction. He said, just make as many friends as you can. So I try to do that in my life, just to be very friendly, just to make friends with everyone. And when you have many friends, when you fill your life with sadhu sangha, when you have meaningful connections with many people, each person can give you a different gift. Each sadhu has a jewel in their heart, and they all have different gifts to give you. So therefore I know who to go for what gifts. Some are amazing preachers, some are very, very sweet, some are cutting, they tell you like it is. Different sadhus can give you many gifts. So think about doing that. Try to have more and more meaningful relationships. This will speed up your spiritual journey. Because what happens when you associate with saintly people? You can repeat after me. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana katha tajjo sanada shapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktiranu kramishyati. So these words are very important. Shraddha, Rati, Bhakti. When you associate with saintly people, then the first thing that happens is that your Shraddha, remember we talked about different qualities of Shraddha, they will help you to upgrade your level of Shraddha, because the devotees will deliver and connect you with Shastra. And not just that, they will give you rati. They'll not just help you to believe in the process, but they'll give you the attraction to want to practice the process. Just by being around them, just by seeing their happiness, they will push you forward. Srila Prabhupada once said to Hari Sauri Prabhu, preaching is easy business. All you have to do is show people how happy you are. So the devotees, their happiness is so powerful. The Nectar of Devotion talks about the smile of a Vaishnav. Darshana pavitra e tomar gun. Just by their seeing their happiness, it immediately enlivens the heart and gives one an attraction towards devotional life. And then bhakti. ultimately they begin to cleanse your heart and allow that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem in your heart to awaken. Therefore, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed, and then real devotion and devotional service begin. This sadhu sangha is then fueling. But we must be dangerous in sadhu sangha because there are certain things to be careful of. As we associate with devotees, if we become familiar, if we commit offenses, if we become insensitive, inattentive, impulsive in our dealings with others, then we also lose mercy. Sadhus can give you a lot because they're very close to Krishna. But also if you disappoint, if you in some way are offensive or insensitive towards devotees, then that can also be very, very injurious to one's spiritual journey. So one has to be very, very careful. Vrindavan Das Thakur says in Chaitanya Bhagavat, oh brothers, the devotional path is so easy, is so beautiful. Just chant the holy name of Krishna and don't offend others. You see, we get so much mercy in Krishna consciousness, but then we lose it. Once I was distributing books and there was one Indian man, it was in Leicester, Indian area. So he came to me, he was looking. So like when you're on book distribution and someone's looking at you, you immediately get excited, like, yeah, he'll take a whole set. So I went up to him, so I was like much taller than him, so he's looking up at me like this. So he said, what are you doing? I said, so proudly I said, we are from the temple distributing Bhagavad Gita. He says, why don't you just get a life? Like that. I was like, oh my God. So he was very inimical, Indian man. I said, what do you mean? This is spiritual knowledge. This is Krishna's words. He goes, no, I don't believe in all of this. So then anyway, I began explaining to him. At the end, he was quite favorable. So I said to him, so why don't you just take one? He said, okay, I'll take. I said, and give donation. I take the book, but I'm not giving any money. He said, I'll read it first and then I'll come back to you. I was like, yeah, right. I said, anyway, it's okay. Take it. Make sure you read it. So he was walking away and then he came back to me as Gujarati man. That's right. Then he said, Abba, I help you. I'll help you. He said, Madat, I'll give you some help. He said, I can teach you how to become very rich. I said, really? Then maybe you can also give a donation. He said, no, I can teach you how to become rich. How? He said, most people in the world think that to become rich you have to earn lots of money. I said, that makes logical sense. He said, no. You just have to make sure you don't spend any money. Then you become rich. This is the vision of a Gujarati. So he was walking with us. I said, thank you. But then I was thinking, actually it's like that in Krishna consciousness. That actually to become rich in Krishna consciousness, you don't actually, every day we're doing such powerful activities. But what's happening is we're spending our wealth. Because then we commit offenses, unnecessarily arguing, thinking bad, finding faults, getting involved in so many politics. Like two devotees come together and then they start talking It starts from ABC and then it goes into GBC and other things, And then after 2 hours of discussing ISKCON politics, they're like, 2 hours of intense discussion. Anyway, Prabhu, what to do? And then 2 hours wasted. So we don't need to get into unnecessary things. Focus on the essence. Chant the holy name. Don't offend others. Just be simple. And you advance very quickly. So yes, we must try. Jiva Goswami says here, this is also very interesting. This is what he says in Bhakti Sandarbha. There are 3 factors which affect one's determination. Association of non-devotees. Therefore, Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us, Atsat Sangha Tyaga E Vaishnavachar Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakta Ar. That what is the very definition of a Vaishnav? Asad Sangha Tyag. They must give up non-devotee association. But sometimes we also avoid the association of devotees. Sometimes we actively try not to be around devotees. We isolate ourselves. We don't come in to make the effort. So that will affect your determination. Or sometimes we come into the association but we offend. So this is really an art to learn how to actually deeply connect with each other. Sadhu Sangha is a very beautiful science. So like this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is painting the picture in every single stage. How do you do it? How do you deepen it? How do you fine-tune it? These are all the bhakti tattvas, the truths of devotion. And if we learn each of these stages very, very nicely, very, very clearly, then what will happen is we'll be able to do each one of them very, very powerfully. And if we do each one of them powerfully, then our spiritual journey builds and goes much, much further. So tomorrow we will talk about Bhajana Kriya. But for now, I think now is what is the time now? 20 to 9. So I think I'll stop here. And maybe if there's some questions, if anyone has, or maybe you have some comments, then any last discussion we can have, if anyone has. Yes.
Hi. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your insightful understanding of Shastra, and it's always a pleasure to have your association. Krishna consciousness is a continuous process. So from Shraddha to Prema, how do we incorporate the Sisastika verses? And the second part of the question is the first verse, Chaito Darpanam Marjanam, purely an external thing? And are the other verses internal? Maybe I'm a little bit wrong in my understanding. And if you can answer that, please. Thank you.
So we have this progression of Shraddha to Prem. And then we also have the Shikshashtakam, the 8 instructions given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what happens is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he takes the Shikshashtakam of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he writes a commentary. I think it's called Sanmodam Bhashya. Is it? Does someone know? Maybe. I think that's what it's called. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes a commentary on the Shikshashtakam. And what he explains is how different verses of the Shikshashtakam align with Shraddha to Prem. So he explains, I can't remember it now, I would have to, if I had my computer I could have showed you. But he explains how every stage is depicted, or every verse of the Shikshashtakam depicts different stages of the process. So he says the first verse, if I remember, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, he says this signifies Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya. And then he says the second and third verses, the third verse represents the mood of bhajana kriya, that one must be humble, one must be tolerant, one must offer all respects to others. Then he says the second and the fourth verse, this refers to anartha nivritti. Because what are we saying? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. Yeah. In anartha nivritti, we're coming face to face with our shortcomings. Therefore, in the second verse, he says, Nam nam akari bahuda, nija sarva shaktis tatrar pita niyamita smarane nakala etadashi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdeva midrisham ihajani na anuraga. Na anurag. I'm so unfortunate. Na anurag. I have no attachment. So anartha nivritti means we're coming face to face with our lack of attachment. And then like this, so then he begins to explain, then you come to nishta, then you come to ruchi, like this. Like ruchi is like, what is that? My eyes are torrents of rain. What's that verse? No. Ainanda tunajikinkaram patita mam vishame bhavam buddho. Yeah, so this is like this. He explains. So I don't have the exact, it's escaping my mind now, but he makes So yes, like this, you'll see different things are depicted. Shraddha to Prem is an incredible framework, and other aspects of Vaishnava theology relate to this also, this framework. So the acharyas, what they do is they often cross-reference between these frameworks, and then they kind of join them together like that. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So this question is from Yamunotri Devidasi from Newcastle. Hare Krishna Maharaj, with reference to the second shower of nectar, verse 2, please touch on the two leaves on the creeper. Will conditioned souls ever move away fully from Vaidhi Bhakti, as our devotional service is affected by the modes?
Okay. So this is going a bit more into the detail of it, but I'll basically explain. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that when the seed of devotion is planted in the heart, then what happens? Malihane kare se bija aropan shravana kirtana jale koriye se chan. One has to become a mali. Understand? Mali? Mali means a gardener. So therefore a devotee must become a gardener. And what do? Shravana kirtana jale. They take the water of Shravan kirtan, koriye se chan, and they water their creeper of devotion. So the seed is planted, Shravan Kirtan, you begin to water it. As you begin to water the plant, then many leaves come up. A creeper comes up, and on that creeper there are different leaves. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains there are different effects when your creeper of devotion awakens. Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Laguta Krit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Shri Krishna Karshini Chasa. When your creeper of devotion awakens, then what happens? Kleshagni, all of the misery in your life disappears. Shubhada, all aspects of your life become auspicious. Moksha Lagutakrit, even the idea that I want to escape this world and I want moksha, it becomes insignificant because of the joy of devotion. Sandrananda Visheshatma, we experience a concentrated type of bliss. Sudurlabha, you realize I have attained something which is very rare, and one gains deep appreciation for what they've been given. Shri Krishna Karshini, and as your devotion awakens, even Krishna becomes attracted. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Krishna means the all-attractive. He attracts everyone. But Krishna also means all-attracted. Because the devotee who has bhakti, even Krishna becomes attracted to him. So like this, you can imagine there's a plant, and then there's these 6 leaves. And then what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is the leaf, if you ever see a leaf, it has a rough part on the bottom, and then it has a very smooth, shiny part on the top. So he says this signifies the 2 broad stages of spiritual life. The first is Vaidhi Bhakti, when we follow rules and regulations. And the second is Raganuga Bhakti, when we have rag, spontaneous devotion. So right now we don't have any rag. Therefore Kaviraj Goswami says, Raga hina jane bhaje shastrera agyai Vaidhi bhakti bole tare sarva shastre gai. Raga hina, if you don't have any rag, jane bhaje, then you should still engage in devotional service. Shastrera agyai, according to the orders of Guru Sadhu Shastra. Vaidhi bhakti bole, this is called Vaidhi bhakti. Sarva Shastra Gai, and all the scriptures glorify. This is very good. So we have no rag, we have no attachment for Krishna. Oftentimes we're coming, dragging our legs. The alarm clock goes off. Why does Krishna wake up so early? Lifting the bead bag feels like weight training. And opening a book is like, wow, so difficult. But I know the scripture has told me, so we do. Rules and regulations. And then gradually what happens is then we develop some taste. The dry heart, which is so dry, which has no rasa, is not experiencing anything. Then by the shower of mercy of Mahaprabhu, then it becomes to become more fertile, and then some things are growing in the heart. And then rag comes about, then one develops some attachment. So Mataji is Mataji? Who is it? Yeah. She's asking, will it ever happen? How does it happen? It happens by the grace of Krishna. But it happens for someone who is patient, enthusiastic, determined. Just like there's a plane on the runway, but if the plane is starting and stopping, then it doesn't build any momentum. But if the plane keeps the pressure up, keeps going, keeps increasing, keeps intensifying, then at one point it's going, and then vroom, takes off. But most of us, we don't really ever take off. We're just kind of taxiing around the runway. Because we speed up, then we slow down, speed up, slow, speed up. No, don't become too pure devotee syndrome. Relax. Take it easy. Then if the intensity is not increasing, then there's no momentum. There's no momentum, then how will we take off? So therefore it's a very deep science, how to become more and more intense as the years go by. When Dhruva Maharaj was doing his austerity, he was becoming more and more intense, isn't it? Something like water every 12 days, then it was like air every... it's the other way around. I think it was water every 3 days, air every 6 days, leaves every 9 days. Leaves every 3 days. Anyway, I never get that one right. But he was becoming more and more intense. So you see, Prabhupada, he never took the foot off the pedal. So how we find our intensity, that we have to see. I tell people you have to find an intensity that suits your personality so that you can maintain a consistency which will awaken your purity. So the way in which one devotee will be intense won't be the same for another devotee. We have to find intensity according. Without intensity, tivrena, bhakti yogena, it has to be tivra bhakti. Otherwise you never really take off. So, but we have it in us, I think so. Because for so many other things in our life, we were intense. So, we just have to do it for Krishna now. Be willing to take the same amount of risk. Be willing to make the same amount of endeavor. Is that okay? Okay. I think we should perhaps, because it's a long day. Okay, last one.
There's a fine dividing line between aparad and calling a spade a spade. Like saying Jadai and Madai are heinous criminals and what have you, is calling a spade a spade. But as devotees, we are often told to see the good in the bad. So just hoping you could comment a little bit on it, Maharaj. Thank you.
If someone is speaking the truth, it doesn't mean that they are automatically exempt from aparad. There are the wrongs of being right. Sometimes, if you speak the truth, but you speak it in such a way that causes other people to become disenthused, depressed, which causes people to lose their faith, which causes conflict and friction, argumentation, division, which causes animosity and a general feeling of devotional deflation, then you may be saying the right thing, but you've done the wrong thing. Because the truth is only the truth when it's spoken in such a way that it's actually beneficial and pleasing and will actually uplift others. Now yes, sometimes it's unavoidable. You may have to say something and it may not be immediately received well by someone. But one must take care, even when you're speaking the truth and you want to call a spade, we still have to do it in the right way, with the right mood, at the right time, with the right motivation. Otherwise, if you speak the truth, but you speak it at the wrong time, with the wrong mood, with the wrong culture, in the wrong time, place and circumstance, then you may be saying the truth, but it's not really the truth, because the truth is not just what is right, but what is delivered in such a way that will actually encourage people to come closer to Krishna. So in devotional life, it's not just about what you do, but it's about how you do it. And therefore in Vaishnava community, culture is so important. Because nowadays people, they may say the truth, but they have no culture. And then that doesn't necessarily help anyone, least of all the person who is saying the truth. Therefore, satyam, priyam, hitam. Yes, say the truth, but it should also be priyam, hitam, pleasing and beneficial. Alright. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. let us all express our gratitude by loudly chanting Hari Bol.